Chief Crowley.
Why is it important to have these alternates?
To go and rest your head for a little bit, and obviously just to provide some relief.
Okay. So far, we talked about the team at the operational level, the command table that we just talked about. I want to ask you now about the relationship between the operational level functioning and the strategic leadership. Mm-hmm. So on the Windsor side, who was the strategic commander?
I believe you would have to confirm with them, but I saw that the Deputy Chief Belair.
Right. And would the chief of the Windsor Police Service also be at the strategic leadership level?
Yes.
What about the OPP? Who were the strategic leaders?
For West Region, Superintendent Campisi looked after that role, but also it would have also included our Chief Thib, and then the OPP command as well, commissioners and deputy commissioners.
So Commissioner Kirik and Deputy Harkins. Now, during the interview, you spoke to us about the importance for the strategic leadership to give the operational commanders autonomy.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Yes. The autonomy that is required is very important because decisions need to be made in a very timely manner when dealing with critical incidents. So that's really highlights the importance. They also know and can trust in the not only the experience the team has, but the training and the subject matter experts, the skill set that they bring, so that they know that those decisions being made are the best options for the situation, what's happening.
Help us understand, why is autonomy connected to timeliness of decision making?
You need to make sure that a decision is made. The failure to make a decision can almost be just as bad as making an improper decision. So that's why the timeliness is very important, right? And these situations, things are happening minute by minute. You need to be able to make decisions based on your awareness. And the CIC has the best situational awareness to make those decisions.
Why was it the CIC who had the best situational awareness?
You are in the midst of it. You have all the intel coming in, you are there, you have all the feedback from your subject matter experts. So that's why you have the utmost situational awareness.
During your time in Windsor as the critical incident commander, did you enjoy the kind of autonomy that you expected from the strategic leadership?
I did, and I appreciated it.
How was your relationship with the Windsor strategic leadership?
The same. They respected it from their command in the command post as well as mine.
WPS 501090, please. This is an email from Chief Minuzo to Deputy Chief Belair that forwards an email from the Michigan government. In there, we see that Michigan doesn't have state resources to offer, but are willing to put the Windsor Police Service in touch with private contractors. And as you can see, Chief Minuzo says they have no machinery or tow trucks to offer. Please let the team know there is no assistance in tow trucks or machinery from the US. Were you made aware of the fact that the state didn't have tow trucks to offer?
Not that specific detail, but I do know that the inspector in charge of the traffic and towing plan had made connections with perhaps the contractors that they mentioned to arrange for tow trucks to be on standby.
And when did you obtain the tow trucks from Michigan?
They came, I believe they came the morning of the 12th.
And I understand that they weren't used in the end?
Correct.
When did they leave?
That day.
I understand that the blockade was only cleared on the following day?
That's correct.
Why were the trucks sent back to the US if the blockade wasn't cleared yet?
The area that we were able to clear on the 12th was significant, was more than we anticipated. And so the area that we needed to continue to clear on the 13th did not have a large amount of vehicles. So we were confident that the tow company from Windsor would be able to support what we needed.
As for other resources that were required, I understand that you also arranged for road barriers to hold areas that were cleared.
That's correct.
What did you get to use as road barriers? What kind of resources?
Windsor Police were able to use their, obviously, the connections with the city to use large trucks. And as well, they had a certain amount of cement barriers that were available to them. And then we worked through our partnership with MTO to work with one of their contractors to bring in more cement barriers.
Were there any issues in securing any of these resources?
No.
Please let the team know there is no assistance in tow trucks or machinery from the US. Were you made aware of the fact that the state didn't have tow trucks to offer?
Not that specific detail, but I do know that the inspector in charge of the traffic and towing plan had made connections with perhaps the contractors that they mentioned to arrange for tow trucks to be on standby.
And when did you obtain the tow trucks from Michigan?
They came, I believe they came the morning of the 12th.
And I understand that they weren't used in the end.
Correct.
When did they leave?
That day.
I understand that the blockade was only cleared on the following day.
That's correct.
Why were the trucks sent back to the US if the blockade wasn't cleared yet?
The area that we were able to clear on the 12th was significant, was more than we anticipated. And so the area that we needed to continue to clear on the 13th did not have a large amount of vehicles. So we were confident that the tow company from Windsor would be able to support what we needed.
As for other
Because Caledonia it involved an occupation of a different kind, right?
Correct.
And do you agree that that one was a very difficult demonstration to try to resolve and was not really ever resolved by a policing solution?
It was a challenge, yes.
And do you agree it wasn't resolved by a policing solution?
I'd have to look at my notes, or I don't
Okay.
recall. I wasn't involved
Sure.
On the
What was you were a strategic commander there?
for some of it,
Okay.
yes.
Put it this way, those protesters were never removed by a POU action, right?
Correct.
Eventually, I think the province reached a financial settlement and acquired the land over which the protest was being held.
Correct.
Okay. And then a couple of other things, if I can. Ottawa and Windsor, very different situations, correct?
Yes.
Ottawa, larger, more complex, more challenging,
Larger, yes.
more complex?
Each incident had its complexities.
Yes,
and
but of course,
challenges.
I'm asking if you can rank them. If you can't, just tell me. But isn't it obvious that Ottawa is a more complex problem even than the one in Windsor?
I would say that it had different challenges than the incident in Windsor.
Okay.
And much larger, yes, I will agree to that.
Mr. Lashid, you were interviewed by Commission Counsel on October 4th, is that correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Registrar, if we could please pull up WTS 6049. Mr. Lashid, is that a summary of the interview?
Yes.
And have you had an opportunity to review this summary?
Yep.
And do you have any corrections to it?
No.
Okay, then we'll ask that it be entered as an exhibit. Mr. Lashid, you live in McGregor, Ontario, is that right?
Oh, correct.
And that's about 15 kilometers from downtown Windsor?
15 to 20 kilometers from downtown Windsor, yeah.
Okay. And what do you do for a living?
I co-own a contracting business that serves the greater Windsor, Essex County area.
Okay, and have you been a lifelong resident of the Essex County area?
I've lived in the Essex County area for the better part of the last 44 years, other than the time I spent at university and briefly in Alberta as a commercial helicopter pilot.
And can you please tell the commissioner about how you became involved with protests against COVID-19 public health mandates?
I would just say, like many other Canadians, I've grown a little wary with the I guess the direction of our basic fundamental rights and freedoms kind of being transformed into privileges that can be granted or revoked based upon our personal compliance with whatever the latest mandate or bylaw that's being passed down by our federal, provincial, or municipal leaders. It led me to be a little concerned as a father of 3 young children, the direction that this country is heading in. And so I participated in several peaceful, lawful protests so that people's voices could be heard with these same concerns.
And can you tell us about those protests?
I mean, we had various fundraisers for people that have been negatively impacted or had job losses or had their businesses somewhat run into the ground or not being able to make ends meet. We've had various freedom rallies at the flag, I guess that you would call it, at the downtown Windsor area of Riverside and Olette Avenue.
And are those the sort of weekly rallies that would take place starting in September?
I wouldn't say I was there for the
2020?
weekly rallies. There have been weekly rallies, and I did my part to offer whatever assistance or support that I could at several of these events over the last couple of years.
Okay. And how would you typically hear about protests that you would attend or fundraisers or rallies?
I mean, I just have made a lot of friends and that would attend some of these rallies in the area that have similar concerns that I do. So, you know, through text message, periodic meetups where people might be discussing what they would like to do or what actions maybe they would like to take next.
And would you post about it on social media or sort of did you join any groups related to?
More just like personal interactions with friends that were involved in the same sort of things.
Okay, so you weren't part of any sort of formal organizations?
I wouldn't say that there was very many formal organizations. It was kind of a loose organization with people coming and going, and that would be about it.
And a loose organization in the sense of just you have this network of friends who?
I mean, like I said, it would be some people that were involved with this maybe prior to me getting involved, and then I would meet certain people over the course of these events, and that would be about it.
Okay, and did you help plan any of these rallies or?
I mean, I offered support where I could. I thought I was a calming influence on a lot of these events when perhaps maybe things got contentious or, you know, offer support in terms of setting things up. You know, we would have a sound stage perhaps, and, you know, I would offer support in moving things from point A to point B or hauling things from somewhere to wherever the venue happened.
Excuse me, Mr. Commissioner. If we could go to your witness statement, and I will get the number wrong. It is WTS
49.
49, thank you. Could we pull that up, please, Mr. Clerk? Could you go, please, sir, to the bottom of page 5 of that statement? And I'm focusing now, Mr. Leysheet, on the events of Saturday, February 12th, 2022. Just to make it clear to the commission, you did not attend on that day.
That's correct.
And I think your evidence was, and it is in the statement, that you were concerned that there would be skirmishes or mass arrests.
I just would say that it looked like there was going to be an abrupt end put to the demonstrations that were going on all week. And Like I stated before, I was only ever available or had an option to attend late in the evenings, and it was pretty apparent that it was being put to an end, and I wasn't going to go back in the evening on Saturday to be a part of that.
And you were of that view, even though your evidence earlier, as I understand it, was you didn't know that the police were warning that these protesters were engaged in criminal activity, nor did you know about the injunction. Is that fair?
I just made my assessment based on the overall stance that the police had taken towards the end of the week, that things were going to be put to an end, and the rumors that I had heard swirling that, you know, there was paddy wagons or police vehicles staged to be able to conduct mass arrests.
The second last paragraph of your statement, which is before you, sir, says, some of Mr. Lechade's friends were present at the protest. So you're getting this second or third hand, is that fair?
Correct. Yep.
They told him that some individuals were shouting slurs at the police.
Yes.
Did they disclose to you the nature of the slurs that were being shouted at the police?
It was more the context that they weren't sure of the particular individuals that were shouting these slurs at the police, because I didn't know any of them and neither did they. And I guess the context was more regarding the nature or the purpose of why these slurs were being used, and that would be the extent of it.
His friends, meaning your friends,
Yep.
believe that these,
So I'm sorry, if you can ask him how he knows the exclusion
Yeah.
zone, and he can explain what it is, but I'm not going to allow the video to go to this person.
Okay. Tell us about the perimeter, when you did a perimeter walk around. Tell me what you saw. The police earlier, I'm going to clarify this first. The police earlier had stated that they were clearing certain areas, and there were areas that were under their control. And the question I have, and the reason I want this video forward, is because I want to know, is the southeast corner of Tecumseh and Huron Church Road part of the exclusion area, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, the exclusion zone ended at the intersection of Huron Church and Tecumseh Road East.
Okay. And did you see police, and was there any footage that you're aware of that showed violence outside, where the police were tackling people outside the exclusion zone?
Again, I wasn't there. I wasn't there on the days of Saturday and Sunday when the police were putting an end to the demonstration.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I believe there was videos of these arrests taking place in areas in the general vicinity.
Okay.
You were personally located in Coutts at this time, is that right?
I had the ability to, no, at that time, until this was established, I was in Coutts, correct, yeah.
Okay. And so we're still on February 1st and 2nd. I understand, and you'll provide more clarity on this, that some protesters got around checkpoint 10 using either tractors or other vehicles to get to Coutts, and this led to an enforcement effort by the RCMP. Could you please describe what that looked like, what that event was from your point of view?
So the events were, the enforcement effort commenced on the 1st, on Tuesday, in Coutts. Being organic in nature, the trucks were on the highway on both lanes, going north and south, but in that particular area, the lanes were actually facing east and west. If you want to go back to that slide, I could explain that. And
Sure, yeah, Mr. Clerk, we could go back down to Coutts.
Right, so right around the commercial inspection site, you can see the highway here is actually east to west for all of a mile from the intersection, from the yellow bullet point till about the Welcome to Alberta sign. At that time, that highway, both lanes, both directions, was full of motorized vehicles, anything from tractor trailers to trucks to whatever was on the highway. And the RCMP staged close to the railroad with, I would say, 100 officers, and started to commence enforcement in the form of knocking on the vehicles. The truckers or the protesters were in their vehicles and asking them to leave or face arrest. So one by one, it was a pretty obvious decision for most, it was time to leave. They were able to work their way down one lane, truck by truck, without us giving us any ability to respond or do anything about it, right? We were watching it from our vehicles, and we seen the RCMP come closer. This was all being streamed on many social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, in droves. It was the place to be in Alberta at the time, right? So.
And so that's one of my other questions, was the composition of the protests would change depending on what day of the week it was and who was coming to the protest site, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Now, in your statement of anticipated evidence, and you've spoken about this a little bit today, you say that if the government of Alberta had agreed to negotiate with spokespersons, the Coots protest could have been dispersed. And I'll take it that you still believe that at this point in time, correct?
Absolutely.
And just to be clear, do you mean just the protest at Coots, or are you including the protest that was occurring at Checkpoint 10 near Milk River?
Well, you know the events, right? When we left, they left. So they were there for us. When we were gone, their goal was no longer achievable.
You acknowledge, though, that you didn't have control over any particular group of people at the protest, correct?
There was less control over Milk River, but there were still individuals who definitely kept an eye on the situation, and it was mainly the weekends that were just the most concerning in regards to public safety, and that was something I spent hours working with the RCMP. I spent every day working with the RCMP to maintain public safety. That was something neither of us wanted, that somebody got hurt by accident.
There were people who were at these protests that were protesting provincial health restrictions, correct? And there were certainly people there that were protesting any federal health restrictions, correct?
I believe everybody who was there was protesting provincial restrictions, and some may also have been protesting federal restrictions.
And I'll ask the clerk if you could please pull up document PB.CAN.401333. Sorry, that's 1333. And I'll ask that you just scroll down to the second page to an email from Lisa Lorencel-Peace on January 30th, 2022. I think you'll have to scroll a little bit farther. There it is there. And you'll see CBSA intelligence provided the following in a couple of points.
.401792. And if we could just cue it up to 5 minutes, 18 seconds, please.
A slice of the world's longest undefended border at a standstill for days. Cross-border traffic shut down by about 100 trucks on the Canadian side. Trucks and their drivers have been stuck here near Coots since Saturday. Today, RCMP started guiding some away from the border through back roads.
I'm cold. I want to go home.
This driver was headed north with a load of potatoes when he ran into the block.
Folks, if you want to be kept up to date on what's happening at the Emergency Act Inquiry, including my live tweets and some clips and highlights that occurring at the Emergency Act Inquiry, by heading over to revolutionnews.ca/Emergency Act Commission. That's revolutionnews.ca/Emergency Act Commission. And of course, here, folks, while you're there, please head over to donorbox.org/emergency act commission. That's donorbox.org/emergency act commission. And of course, here folks, if you could chip in a buck or two, that will be greatly appreciated, as it will help me cover my travel expenses, including my expenses on food, as bringing you these stories doesn't come for free. Thank you so much.